This is Global Signals by Andrew Drummond, deep dives and insights about retail and FMCG. Today, we're breaking down a massive shift in the grocery and retail landscape by looking at the 2026 Global Retail Brand Value Ranking. Are legacy supermarkets literally dying out, or is there just a huge misunderstanding of what these numbers actually mean? We're going to separate the facts from the assumptions and look at exactly how discounters and membership clubs are fundamentally changing the way consumers shop.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Here is our roadmap. We'll cover the 2026 brand rankings, brand equity versus revenue, the power of hard discounters, the membership savings model, private labels and FMCG strategies, and finally, we'll answer the big question, is the middle market actually dead?
Section 1, the 2026 Retail Brand Rankings, top of the food chain.
To really grasp the sheer scale of the top player right now, just listen to this number, $396 billion. That is absolutely staggering. According to Kantar data, Amazon's retail brand alone commands this massive valuation. Consumers today crave absolute convenience, and Amazon delivers exactly that. Their brand value reflects this unprecedented global scale and consumer reliance. To put that $396 billion into perspective for a second, Amazon is now bigger than Walmart at $176 billion and Costco at $114 million, combined. No way, right? But it's true.
But you know what's really fascinating? The story hiding a bit further down the list. Look at numbers 7 and 12, the German hard discounters. Aldi sits at $27.7 billion and Lidl is at $21 billion. Now compare that to the legacy retail giants we all know. Target is at $11.4 billion and Tesco is at $9.7 billion. These two German discounters literally have twice the brand value of famous, deeply established traditional supermarkets. A lot of people see this anomaly and immediately claim that legacy supermarkets are dying, but actually, they're wrong.
Section 2, brand equity versus total revenue, separating facts from assumptions.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that we have to look at the data critically. Kantar is measuring brand equity. That's the financial value driven by consumer perception. Basically, it's how much extra money a company makes simply because of its brand name and reputation. It doesn't measure total revenue, and it is definitely not a balance sheet. We can't confuse a brand popularity contest with actual cash flow. A lower brand value absolutely does not equal a failing business model.
Take Tesco, for instance. Even though Tesco sits much lower on the brand ranking at just under $10 billion, it absolutely dominates the UK market and generates over $80 billion in annual revenue. It has massive cash flow, but it's a regional business. Aldi and Lidl, on the other hand, operate in over 30 countries. Global brand rankings naturally favor that kind of multinational scale. However, even keeping that context in mind, the rankings shows a very real shift in consumer minds. People genuinely value what Aldi and Lidl do.
Section 3, the power of hard discounters, the value of simplicity. So what is the secret to their power? Well, the answer is simplicity. When you walk into a traditional supermarket, you're usually greeted by around 40,000 items. Historically, business leaders just assumed that more choice meant more sales, but it turns out this actually causes what's known as range overload. A famous study from the Kellogg School of Management proved that huge variety can actually lower shopper satisfaction simply because people get tired of choosing. Aldi counters this by offering a strictly limited range. They stock only around 2,000 items. They keep it simple. This reduces their inventory costs, speeds up turnover, and ultimately saves you, the consumer, both time and money.
Legacy supermarkets started panicking as discounters took their customers, which sparked these fierce price wars. Big chains in the UK, like Tesco and Sainsbury's, tried to fight back by slapping all the price match labels on their shelves. But here's the catch. Consumer investigations revealed that some of these price-matched products weren't actually the same quality. To cut costs, traditional supermarkets were quietly reducing the main ingredients. For example, a chicken pie suddenly had less chicken in it. Aldi responded directly, telling shoppers that true Aldi value only exists at Aldi. The lesson here is crystal clear. You cannot fake a discount model. If your operating overheads are high, you just can't sell at discount prices without cutting product quality. And trust me, shoppers always notice.
Section 4, the membership savings model, securing profit up front.
Let's look back at the top of our ranking list for a second. Costco is number 3 at over $114 billion, and Sam's Club is number 11 at $23.5 billion.
These companies use a totally different model compared to traditional retail. They charge an upfront membership fee, and that fee is the thing that actually covers their profit margin. Because their profit is already secured at the door, they can sell the actual products at near-cost prices, and consumers enthusiastically take this deal. It creates extreme loyalty, because once shoppers pay that upfront fee, they feel like they must spend money there and buy in bulk just to justify the cost of the membership.
And, much like the hard discounters, this model thrives on limiting choices. A typical massive Costco warehouse only stocks about 4,000 items. That is 10 times less than a normal traditional supermarket. This proves once again, without a shadow of a doubt, that massive variety is simply not necessary for a high brand value or a highly successful retail operation.
Section 5. Private Labels and FMCG Strategies. The Shifting Shelf Space. Fast-moving consumer goods suppliers used to rely almost entirely on big legacy grocers for their shelf space. But that strategy is shrinking fast. Hard discounters are growing, and they're starting to sell more A brands to attract middle-class shoppers. But the real threat to FMCG brands? It's the evolution of the store brand. In the past, store brands were just those cheap alternatives with ugly packaging you'd barely look at. Now, they're a real competitor. Retailers are investing heavily in them. A strong private label program gives a retailer massive power. It forces FMCG A brands to negotiate way better terms. Why? Because if a famous brand asks for a price increase, the retailer can simply say, no thanks, and promote their own high-quality private label instead.
To survive all this, FMCG companies have got to find a clear route into these discount and club formats. But they can't just drop prices everywhere. Product pricing varies heavily by country. An item, whether it's food or an electronic device, costs a completely different amount to import into Spain than it does into the US. This is all due to local import factors like tariffs, transport costs, and local regulations. Because of this, FMCG brands absolutely need a market-by-market strategy. A single global pricing model is going to fail for sure.
Section 6. Is the middle market dead? Survival via efficiency.
A lot of analysts out there claim the middle market is dead. They say consumers only want premium or discount. But honestly, this is a cognitive bias. While the undifferentiated middle is definitely struggling, a traditional supermarket can still win if it executes well. Take Mercadona in Spain as a brilliant illustration of this point. It's a traditional supermarket format, yet it holds nearly a 37% market share. How do they do it? Operational perfection. They have a massive, high-quality private label program. They offer fair prices every single day. And crucially, they do not rely on heavy, margin-destroying promotions. The middle survives when it is highly efficient. If a retail chain sits in the middle with high costs and bad inventory, yeah, it's going to lose market share.
So let's distill all of this into the hard facts you really need to know. For retailers, the takeaways are super clear. First, you've got to cut slow-moving inventory. Broad assortments and range overload are a liability now, not an asset. Second, fix your operating costs. You simply cannot compete on price against the discounters if your overhead is too high. And third, start treating your private label as a real brand. It's no longer just cheap filler. It's a primary tool that builds deep, lasting consumer loyalty.
Now, for FMCG suppliers, the landscape has completely shifted. You can't rely solely on traditional supermarkets anymore. You must look at discounters and club formats. You also have to build regional pricing strategies, always remembering that local import factors drastically change your costs. Most importantly, you must justify your price premium. Remember, brand value is perception. If your brand doesn't offer something the store brand cannot, if it doesn't have real strength, private labels will absolutely replace you on the shelf. Profit in this new era comes from simple, streamlined operations.
As we wrap up this explainer on the shifting power dynamics of the industry, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder based on everything we've just uncovered. What do you think is the biggest threat to big box retail today? Is it the absolute convenience of Amazon, the ruthless efficiency of the hard discounters, or simply their own bloated operating costs? Definitely something to think about.
You are watching Global Signals by Andrew Dremen. Deep dives and insights about retail and FMCG.